We recently visited SOTT, a Korean restaurant in Providence, but this was a special visit because we had the pleasure of the company of Brynn Gibson of Season 20 of Hell's Kitchen. This is the first episode of Rhode Island Recommends new video series, Deep Dive Dining. SOTT used to be Walk and Pop, but they recently rebranded, and we were looking forward to our visit, but we were even more excited about getting to know Brynn better.
So how did you get into to cooking to begin with?
So I started watching Grill It with Bobby Flay when I was like a child.
Iron Chef? Did you watch Iron Chef?
I loved Iron Chef. I started with the Grill with Bobby Flay, and then I saw him in his like penthouse in New York and grilling outside, and I was like, that's what I want for my future. He just seemed to be like living his best life and like grilling and just with his family, and I'm like, that's what life is all about. And then my nanny was Guatemalan, and so she started introducing me to like certain cuisine, like her cuisine, and I started making like tortillas from scratch, and we fried beans for breakfast. And then my dad, he started like cooking with me more, but he'd do like the classic like American ribs and like grilled chicken and that stuff. And then my mother was also not as much of a chef, but like she cooked too. And then I really realized that my family sat down around food. And we would all, that was like the only time we had. So I've actually adopted into an all-white family, and it was one of those things of like...
Were you adopted?
Yes. I was adopted when I was 10 months old from Cambodia. And then I was raised right outside of DC. So it was like this kind of cultural immersion for everybody. Yeah. For me to stay in touch with like cultural roots. So I ended up in a like Cambodian dance group, and then they also had...
So neat.
What is that?
Yeah, so it was every Sunday from like 9 a.m. to like 4 or 5 p.m. we would practice traditional Cambodian ballet. And they'd always have a lunch. So each family, or like multiple families, would be responsible for contributing something to the lunch, and it would be traditional Khmer food. And so that was my first time having like my culture's food, and I got to, like, my parents got to be introduced to it, and so it's just like this weird, beautiful immersion of like American culture, my culture, and then I just really saw how food brought everybody together and like the power that it had, and I started cooking more, and I started like learning, and I ended up in like cooking adult cooking classes when I was like 10, 11, 12, because I was just really good at it. It was just like really good at, and it was one of those things of, I got into high school and I was like, I don't really care about classes because I know that I can cook. I'm just gonna get a job in the kitchen. Like why do I need to learn about like American history or any of that? And it was this beautiful kind of experience, and then I went to Johnson & Wales. I graduated there, and then I also ended up at Hell's Kitchen, which was a whole adventure of its own, and then now here I am today.
And how did you get to Rhode Island?
Johnson
Through Johnson & Wales. And you decided to stay here?
And then I just decided to stay because...
So your family lives in DC?
Yes, so they're right now... They moved a little bit further outside of the city, but they're in Virginia. But yeah, I came up for Johnson & Wales, and then I created this network here. And I think that that's the beauty of Rhode Island, is that when you kind of find your niche, it just became my family of people that I bonded with, whether we went through trials and tribulations on the line or everything in culinary school, and I just found some really good down-to-earth people.
I'm glad you love Rhode Island.
I know, and it's just so funny because I always now say either you're from Rhode Island, you leave and you come back, or you're not from here, you visit and you stay. And I have visited and I stayed.
And we're so glad that Brynn decided to stay and become part of our Rhode Island family.